Hi, I'm Dave Miles with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and today I'm with Bob Whaley, Range Master here at Gunsite. Now, Bob, at Gunsite, your goal is to teach people how to defend themselves using the art of the modern pistol, a rifle, shotgun,
Correct.
but using firearms for self-defense.
Correct.
And a critical part of that is not only knowing how to shoot the gun, but also how to figure out who you should shoot, and probably more importantly, who you shouldn't.
Exactly.
Let's talk about target discrimination.
Target discrimination, it's a vital skill. You see, with more and more people exercising their constitutional right to defend themselves, learning how to use firearms and carrying concealed weapons becomes very critical, because you understand that before you can launch that round down range, there are two things you have to do. Number one, you have to locate the threat, and then you have to fully identify or discriminate that threat to determine that it is someone that you can legally, morally, and ethically engage with deadly force.
Sure.
I was a policeman for 31 years. I spent 15 years in SWAT. Throughout my time as a policeman, before and after, training academies everywhere taught, watch the hands. Watch the hands will kill you was the big thing. And that is true, but there's more to it than that. Every year we see instances with police, law-abiding citizens, our soldiers downrange who key on the hands. They watch the hands almost to the exclusion of everything else. Their mind is set to a trigger of, if they're armed, I'm going to shoot.
Yep.
And we have to remember there's lag time to shoot, there's lag time to stop shooting. So they key in on just those hands. They see a gun, they start launching rounds downrange. And it's about that third round that their brain is screaming, hey, he's wearing the same uniform I am, or hey, that's Joe, whatever.
Yep.
So just watching the hands is not enough.
So you have a system then that
Correct.
you use to determine whether this is friend or foe.
Exactly. When I was in SWAT, full-time team doing a lot of work every day, we talked a lot about how do we prevent blue on blue or friendly fire instances. You know, hey guys, he's going to be carrying the same kind of gun as you, or hey, look for the uniform, look for the badge, whatever it was. But it wasn't until I met a guy named Paul Howe, who is a retired United States Army Master Sergeant and spent over 10 years as a Delta operator, who introduced us to a teachable system that you could learn and apply in the real world.
Okay.
The system goes like this. It's 5 steps. Number 1, whole person, hands, waistline, surroundings, and demeanor. And here's what it means. First thing I look at, I watch that whole person. I look at the whole person. I'm looking at him to determine, is this one of my guys? Do I know who this is? Is this an unknown? Is this a bad guy that I recognize immediately? Or is this somebody I'm not sure about? Is this a true unknown?
Sure.
I watch the person, I identify him, I collapse to the hands. Is he holding a weapon? Is that weapon capable of creating a situation that justifies deadly force? If I don't see anything in the hands, then I'm going to break to the waistline. The waistline is the most common place where somebody will hide a weapon. Doesn't mean that it's the only place, but remember, I'm dealing with fractions of a second here to accomplish this task. If I don't see anything there, I break to the surroundings. It may be within leaping or reaching distance of them, and running through the whole system is demeanor. I was only involved in a couple shootings. My team, throughout the years I was there, was only involved in a total of maybe a half dozen max. We had a lot of guns pointed at us over the years. But just because somebody has a gun, points a gun somewhere, or doesn't necessarily mean that A, they're a bad guy, or they pose an imminent risk to you.
Sure.
Human beings have, you know, they exude behavior. You know, the eyes are the window to the soul. Well, I tell you what, body language is a window to intention. So I want to look at that, because my experience and the experience of the officers around me will tell you, a good guy gives off a little bit different vibe than a bad guy.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
That's not a 100% sure thing. You have to let the situation speak for itself. But sometimes that off-duty policeman who's looking at his buddies in a certain way, if you're doing more than just keying on those hands and just seeing that weapon in his hands, you're going to pick up the vibes, which might cause you to hold just for a second. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Bob, that's a bad thing. If I hesitate, I'm lost. that may be true. But you use this system in conjunction with and in line with the color code of awareness. This is a way of enhancing
Sure.
your system of maintaining your awareness. It supplements that. So if I'm using my system, I'm in yellow, I have relaxed awareness, and I get in a habit of loosely discriminating people as I go about my business. I build this skill, and it is a skill. I'm very likely to be out ahead, and I will avoid having to respond in that moment.
Sure.
You know, I can be out ahead of the issue a bit.
If you're paying attention, more than likely, that person that may be thinking about doing something to
Exactly.
you've probably already identified them as a threat long before they come within that space where they can hurt you.
Exactly. But again, as I said, it's a skill.
Yep.
So here's how you build it.
Okay.
You have a little fun with this thing. When you're going about your business, you know, you're walking through Walmart, you know, you're at work and everything. Instead of just looking at people from now on, look at them in terms of this system.
Okay.
Because remember, you have to be able to do this in the time it takes you to either present that pistol or bring it from low ready, or even to turn and just glance at somebody. You got to collect this information. So from now on, as you go about and you're starting to talk with people, you're going to look, you're going to see that whole person. In that same instance, you'll collapse to the hands. If I don't see anything, I'm going to look at the waistband, I'm going to look at their surroundings, and I'm going to gauge their demeanor. What is this person's intention based on their body language, how they're moving, and all that. Just start doing that very loosely, very calmly, in a very relaxed manner.
Sure.
You start building the skills. It's just like applying the color code. I will tell students, look, when you become aware of your environment, it's very likely you're going to be ahead in the game, you're going to see bad things out there.
Sure.
But there aren't a lot of bad things out there in the world, but there's an awful lot of good things. And you're going to start noticing things in your environment that are very enjoyable you never saw before because you never made yourself look for them.
Sure.
The same thing about this system in applying it to people. You're going to start seeing things, noticing things, and perceiving a lot of good things about people.
Sure.
That just passing through, letting your gaze blast by them
If you have tunnel vision, you're never going to notice it.
Right. With no intention, you just don't see them. So, it's not only a system to identify bad guys and be able to shoot the right person. That's critical. You don't want to shoot the wrong guy. They deserve their own safety too, but hitting the right person. But it's also a way of being more effective in interacting with people also. So, and there's another way you can build that skill on the range.
Okay. And how's that?
Well, first off, you need the right kind of target, guys. Here at Gunsite, we don't shoot unarmed targets here. We shoot targets that present a credible, immediate, and ongoing threat. So our targets that you shoot are armed, and we do not shoot unarmed targets here at Gunsite. So we're going to talk about how to set up a poor man's decision-making range to help build this skill. All you need is anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5, let's keep it to a nice manageable area, targets of some kind that are armed. Now, the target can be printed with them, and you can get these types of targets in a lot of different sources here, or it can be just a plain target as long as you have a nice sticky or something that you can put up there. A nice way to do that, or an easy way to do that, is take a blue gun, a toy gun, something other than a live firearm, set your hand down on the printer, and make a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
And you can do that as many times as you want, so you got a lot of them. If your target does not have a threat on it, paste that on there. Okay. Now it takes 2 people to do this. So I've got my bank of targets.
Okay.
He's now armed. I have my buddy turn his back. So the other thing you have to have the skills to be able to pivot and turn safely. So you need training in that to understand how to do those movements, again, safely. So I have my bank of targets. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to put a number up here. So this may target 1, 2, 3. They don't have to be in order. You can mix those numbers around, okay? So on maybe 1 or 2 or as many as your buddy wants to mess with you on, he's going to take a blank piece of notebook paper with a piece of tape, and he's going to cover up the threat.
Okay.
Okay? So now we have targets that are pointing guns at you and targets that aren't. Okay? We have to make a decision now.
Sure.
So what he can do then, call out a sequence of numbers. All right? Calls out any sequence of numbers, any number of targets are up there. Then he says, go. You pivot, then draw your pistol. The proper procedures. You do not present the pistol until your shoulders are square to the target. Oh yeah, by the way, the guy who's calling the numbers needs to remember to step behind the line before he calls the sequence. When he calls the numbers, you engage those targets in the order it was given.
Okay.
However, let's say I've covered this up, this is target 1, and I call number 1 somewhere in my sequence. Just because that number has been called,
doesn't mean that
I
you
don't
should shoot it.
engage that target, because if there's no weapon here, he doesn't pose a credible, immediate, and ongoing threat. I have to look at him, I have to see him, and engage them properly.
Okay.
So kind of, again, the poor man's discrimination range.
It gets you an opportunity to check,
Exactly.
take that moment to evaluate the target, and then take the shot if you need it or not.
Exactly.
And,
It
that's
breaks
what it's
you,
all about.
It breaks you out of the automatic mode of target shoot.
Shoot. Yep.
Target shoot. Breaks you out of that, forces you to make some kind of a low-level decision about what I'm going to shoot, what I'm not going to shoot. And it's based on what you see.
Yes.
It's based on what you see. That's what's going to happen out there in your critical incident.
Absolutely.
You know, sound and smell are target indicators, but you got to see it before you can shoot it. And you have to make a decision, a critical decision, in very compressed time frames, that this is the proper response on this target.
And to use any kind of weapon in self-defense, you really have to be practiced, skilled, work on getting the right mindset, and this is all a part of it.
That's right. This is a critical phase. You know, just because you own a piano doesn't mean that you're ready to play in Carnegie Hall. You need to learn how to use this machine to the highest level that you can with this instrument.
Sure.
Just because you go down to the gun store and you buy it doesn't mean you're ready to go. You need training, you need practice, and you need to be very certain of your target. If you're not sure, don't shoot. Very simple. You shoot at what you know, not at what you guess, not at what you think you know, not at what you simply surmise. You shoot at what you know and are certain of.
Yep. That's great advice, Bob. And thank you for taking the time to talk about target
My
discrimination. Pleasure. Now, there's a drill that you can use at your range. If you're looking for a range to shoot at, visit our website. It's called wheretoshoot.org. And remember, when you're on the range, firearm safety depends on you.